Okay, welcome back. Been a bit of a delay, hasn't there, Matthew?
Some technical difficulties, yes. With a whole
Yeah,
different laptop.
whole different laptop, whole different time of time of the day we're recording, whole different everything. To be honest,
Yeah.
been a bit of a delay. It just means that there's been a longer gap between us knowing what number 11 to number 10 is on each other's list.
Yeah.
Um,
Tell I've been fighting technology for 2 hours.
we won't talk about that. That's
Yeah.
too soon, as they say.
It's too traumatic.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Um, So I guess we just get straight back into it then, and just pretend that
Absolutely.
this is just the next day. We're just
Yeah.
it's all fresh in our mind. Um,
Absolutely. I agree.
I liked your number 11 pick. I can't remember what it was, but it
I
was a good
was
one.
I was about to say we should do a recap. Well, number 11 was Polaris the Mortal Coil, Australian metalcore
Oh,
band that I've seen three times. Yeah, three times,
right. Okay.
and
Yep.
have met them.
Aha. Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That does ring a bell now.
Yeah.
Mine was Cowboys from Hell, Pantera.
That's right.
And do you want to announce your number? No, who announced the last one? Even though everyone here will know what
Yeah.
happened just then.
Before we continue, actually, I just remembered something. I
Okay.
listened to one of the albums on your list.
Oh,
I
okay.
listened
Which one
to
was that?
Final Conversation of Kings.
Damn. Okay. So what's your general takeaway?
Really liked it.
You really
It was
liked it?
so unusual. It was so like I it was sort of familiar but unfamiliar at the same time. I couldn't quite pick who it sounded like. I kind of got sometimes like Dream Theater vibes a little bit. I feel like it's
Okay.
odd to say,
Okay.
but I actually did really enjoy it. I think Room Without a View was the one I liked the most.
Okay. Yep. Yep. That's a good
Yeah.
one. That the entire like early part of that album I really love. I I
Yeah.
I love it. I love it the earlier the album. It kind of the songs are still good as it goes on, but yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
I
That's
agree with that
that's
as
the peak
well.
of it.
Towards the end, also like, oh, it's only two songs left. But
Yeah.
yeah. But the
Did you like
first
the
like
like sound of the album? Like it sounds like
yeah,
the yeah,
very heavy,
yeah.
which I love as my list shows.
Okay. Um
But
Glad to hear it because I know that I know that that's a band, as we said, that I've been hinting about for a while now.
yeah.
Um and yeah, you've caught on.
Yeah. Do you listen to any of the albums
Awesome.
or not on my
No,
list?
I was gonna base it on the entire list rather than just then and there.
Two-thirds, fair enough.
So I'm gonna wait and see what is said and then just look at the list when it's entirely written down.
Yeah.
Pick and choose from there. Actually, yeah, I was going to say as well. There are a few albums that I've listened to since our last recording that I have gone, oh, that could have made its way on there.
Okay.
Um, One of them is Rise Against, Appeal to Reason.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's an album that I
Fantastic.
loved. Yeah, I loved that in high school. Another one that I just loved
Did
listening
I
to
show you
back
that one?
then. Probably, yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
it's got that real bright like album cover, like the bright yellow, and then it's
Yeah.
just got songs that are just really entertaining. I think just real fast, heavy-ish, like
They're all just
pop punk,
catchy as hell. They're
catchy
all
as
just
hell.
so
Yeah,
catchy.
big
Like
time.
all the choruses just stick in your head.
Yeah, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
I won't speak too much about when we saw them. Before was it ACDC in
Foo
Sydney?
Fighters.
It was Foo Fighters. Okay.
Yeah.
um, what are yeah. Band Aid. Come on, let's go. So,
Dave
um,
Grohl is a great man.
yeah, I've seen more memes that I
Yeah.
care to talk about, to be honest. But yeah, surprising news, but I don't know. It probably won't make much of a difference to his musical legacy, to be honest. I don't think
Yeah.
it'll. it'll pretty much only tarnish his good guy reputation, I think.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things because it's so fresh. Everyone's like, "What the fuck?" But give it, a few months and a few years. I think everyone's just like, "Yeah, you fucked up," but
Yeah.
I don't know.
The only one that'll really care about it is his family, and I'm not his
Well,
family,
his
so
his daughters deleted their social media,
I
so
did see that. Yeah, just fear of backlash or something. I would assume, but it would be really
oh,
odd for someone to go towards them.
people have for other stuff. They targeted Violet because he made comments about Taylor Swift, and everyone's like, fuck your dad for your dad dissing Taylor Swift," and she's like, "I didn't say it. What the fuck?" But that's the
An
internet for
outspoken
you.
rock
So
star gets his daughter in trouble for speaking out. Oh, Jesus,
Swifties for
classic.
you,
Yeah, say no more. I'm sure. I'm sure we'll be talking about old Tay Tay at some point.
unfortunately.
Um, I also listened to Dark Side of the Moon as well,
Oh
and
yeah.
realized how awesome of a like concept album that is.
Yeah.
Um, just really, it flows so well. It's one of the best albums I've heard that like just completely flows from start to finish.
Yeah. And the fact that's an album recorded to tape as well.
Yeah, yep.
So the
It
effort,
sounds like it.
yeah.
It sounds like it in
I
all of the best ways possible. Not like oh yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah, Jesus, that's shit. It's
the
yeah.
my hot take with Pink Floyd is I don't think that's even their best album.
No, I have heard that. I have heard that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know that my dad shares that same opinion.
Yeah.
Um,
I love Animals.
okay,
Probably my favorite Pink Floyd album.
okay. It's got the
Second
best
one's like the
album cover, that one. Up
Flying
there.
Pig.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last one was Hotel California, actually.
Oh, Eagles. I haven't
The
even I've
Eagles.
heard the song, but I haven't even heard the album though.
Oh, mate. It's bloody awesome. It's you'll listen to it and you go, that's an Eagles song? And you'll go, oh wow. Um just as the album went on, it was just, oh wow, this is actually really good. It's like the bass is like Paul McCartney kind of esque, I think. It's real
Oh, it's
like
just everywhere.
it's everywhere, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's awesome. I mean, I of course noticed that. Um but yeah, no, I'd recommend just one of those classic albums that is very well known, very popular, but I feel like it deserves to be.
I don't think I even know what the album cover looks like.
Oh, it's hard to explain. It's like a hotel in the background with like some trees. It's kind of got like a filter on it.
Oh no, I have seen that before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
I'll,
highly recommend. And I
I'll give
kind of angry at myself that it took me that long to really um pull the band-aid off with the Eagles, but hopefully I'm underway with some kind of, I don't know, streak of them.
random 70s bands.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got Floyd, the Eagles. Yeah.
Mm, pioneers.
I have to definitely give that a listen. But like I said, other than Hotel California, I don't think I could name another Eagles song.
Mm, okay. One of those bands that kind of get mixed in with, I don't know, um, the Doors or the Kinks, even though they're completely different countries, first of all, and like
Yeah.
types of music. I don't know.
I was gonna say,
It's hard to explain. Yeah,
the Doors are very blues, and Kinks, I don't know much about Kinks. They're kind of more on the punk side, aren't they? Sort of.
early punk. Yeah, I
Like,
mean, kind of
yeah,
like, yeah. I don't
like the
know.
soft Ramones, aren't
Yeah, yeah.
they?
In
Yeah.
a way, I don't really know what I mean by what I said, but it makes sense in my head. Like they sometimes bands like the Eagles can just be put into like that category of older bands that I haven't bothered to explore yet.
Yeah.
Um, but now that I've listened to Hotel California,
Yeah.
hopefully that
And
starts a wave.
Yeah, they're the sort of bands. It's like, oh yeah, your dad shows you them, and as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, whatever. But then, like as you get older, you listen to them, which is
Yeah,
probably a lot of your music taste of like your Iron Maidens and your Sabbaths and that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely very guilty of that.
Yeah,
Okay. Would you like to do the honors?
yeah. Right. Number 10. It's a band that I think I've begged you to listen to, and I'm not sure if you still have, but Tool.
No, I haven't.
Have you listened to? Yeah, there you go. But I know this is a band I've begged you to listen to because I know you love them. They're just like super heavy, like prog metal. But my favorite album by them is Lateralis, which is easily their best album. The songwriting, the performances, everything about this album is just perfection. The whole track list is just brilliant. And I just love this album a lot.
Okay.
The opening track, The Grudge, it's just
Mm,
like
I've heard that song.
so much happens in that first track that basically when it ends, you're just like, holy shit, that's just track one. Like it's just this massive epic song with I always get his name wrong, Maynard James Keenan. I know he's got three first names. But towards the end of that song, he just lets out this massive scream. I've seen him do it live as well. It's just like this 30-second scream. And it's just like, how are your lungs like that massive, mate? Holy
Right.
shit.
I've heard a lot of things about Tool live, Next Level.
Yeah.
Have you seen them live?
Yes.
You
I got
have.
to see him
Okay.
with a mate, Lachlan. Went and saw him beginning of 2020. Yeah, Curtis Bank.
Okay.
Just before the world shut down. So that was great.
Back in the day. Um, right. Okay. Yeah, 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 guilty. Tool are a band that I need to explore.
Yeah, you would love them, and I would highly recommend you start on this album. This is the album I that got me into them.
Okay.
It's just the songwriting on it is just absolutely amazing, and the amount of times you can choose, they just flawlessly change through as well. And they're a big fan of Drop D as well, which is the best guitar tuning. Um, but it's so what I love about their riffs is that how do I explain it? They sound really technical, but they're actually fairly simple.
Right.
I don't know if that makes
Okay.
any sense. Like you listen to it
No,
and
I
it
know what you mean.
sounds like, yeah, it sounds like, oh, that'd be really hard to play. But if you actually were to play it, you're like, oh yeah. It's like
Not that
the
hard.
simple but effective sort of technique.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant
No, I
album.
know Tool are very popular in Australia and New Zealand. I've seen. Um,
Even this year.
like very like there's a lot. Um, some of the radio stations I've heard from in both countries play the old Tool song every now and then. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
so they've reached like commercial success as well. I think.
Oh yeah, no, they're massive. They're
Yeah.
massive. Like when I saw them, it was at Curtis Bank Arena. Like that was they play in arenas.
Mm.
You know.
Yeah. Right.
Um, and Danny Carey is, in my opinion, a contender next to Mike Portnoy as best drummer alive. There, and when I saw him, he did a drum solo. I was just sitting there, just frothing it the whole time, just sitting there. It was so good. It's like, oh, he's a weapon. Um,
I've
yeah,
heard that as well. Yeah.
yeah, he's absolutely unreal. Favorite song, it's kind of two because it's a song that leads into the other another song. It's Parabole into Parabola, and when you listen to those songs, you need to listen to them together. You can't listen to them separately because Parabole is like this really quiet and it builds, 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 and then it just explodes into Parabola. And the riff for Parabola is just amazing. It's so like bouncy. Um, and I remember when they did it live, like the crowd just went mental because it's easily like
Sure.
one of their best songs.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's yeah. Speaking of stuff. Speaking of, if I have heard any of your albums yet, that is one that I will be listening to because
Absolutely. Yeah.
I've yeah, I've always wanted to get into Tool, and I think that's a perfect place to start. So
You would love them. I know you love your
yeah,
heavy, you love your prog and rap the alley.
yep,
Absolutely.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. My number 10 is my last Australian band. Um, they are who I think are the best and also the most underrated. Um, Definitely the most underrated Australian band, and but a very underrated, um, just band in general. The Living End.
Yeah, so that's yeah.
Um, probably some of the best crisp performances that I've seen live, personally.
Because Cheney's a weapon.
Um, yeah, absolutely. Um, my favorite album is Modern Artillery, and it has been for a very long time. Over their debut. Um,
I honestly thought you'd have picked like White Noise or something.
no, I do like White Noise. That's
Yeah.
for a commercial album. I do really love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But no, I've always loved Modern Artillery. Um, it's got some of their. I think it's got some of Chris's most underrated songwriting. I think
Yeah.
just sounds awesome. It's probably not their rockiest album. Actually, it's definitely not their rockiest album, or their heaviest. But it's just got songs that I just really enjoy listening to. Um, really crisp as well. It's also got an experimental song on there, The Room. It's like 8+ minute song. That's something they don't really do. I think
Yeah.
they pull
Yeah.
that
Most of the
off.
songs like 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, yeah. There's something about it. I love In the End. That's my favorite song on that album. I think
Yeah.
that's an amazing song in general. Um, just that call and response at the end with him and Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Not much more I can say about that, to be honest.
I think it's probably the album I've listened to the least. I think.
Really.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it that much. But I've listened,
Even
I'm
after,
looking at the track listing. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard Tabloid Magazine, I've heard Who's Gonna Save Us. But I can't I think that's one I'm gonna have to re-listen to. I haven't listened to the album in a long time.
I'd recommend it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like I mean, they've got. Well, I'll talk about this in another episode, I'm sure, but they've got one of the best debut albums of all time.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
I can't, I
Absolutely.
can't, I can't argue if someone says that their debut was better than Modern Artillery. I won't get angry at that. It's
Yeah.
just there's something about Modern Artillery that I've always loved, and
It's
when
just
I
clicked
when I
again.
listen to it, yeah, when I
Yeah.
when I listen to it to order this list, um, I had a great time. So yeah,
Oh, definitely will give it a re-listen. It's been a hot minute.
would
Wow.
recommend. Wait, what's up?
Number nine. Number
Oh yeah,
nine. Um, keeping on theme of Australian bands, I believe this is my last Australian band as well, actually.
okay, there we go.
Um, not sure if you've listened to these guys. I definitely feel like you've heard of them. Gang of
Midnight Oil.
Youths.
Oh, Gang of Youths. No, I've actually listened to Midnight Oil more than more than Gang of Youths. So okay, yep.
Can't get off of Beds of Burning, mate. Um,
Good old Peter Garrett. Love him.
um,
Voldemort.
Baltimore. Fuck. Gotta love him. Lanky motherfucker. Um, um, my favorite album by them is called Go Farther in Lightness. And it's just such a beautiful album. And it's another album. It's about it's the why it's called Go Farther in Lightness, because that song's about trying to look towards positivity. Because I know the sayings usually go farther in darkness, but the album's all about when you're in dark to look positively and to move forward, this and that. Like my favorite song in the album is called Say Yes to Life. And when I saw them live for the first time, they closed with that song, and it was just like euphoric. It's
Mm,
such a beautiful song. Um, and that song I feel like is the absolute representation of the band. They're all
Okay.
about the singer. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's got a really unusual name, but the reason why he started doing all this music is like he was having a lot of issues within his personal life, and he was able to get himself out of it, and now he wants to use that sort of message to pass it on. And the music they create is so beautiful. Um, and like their concerts are always about like a celebration of life. Both times I've seen them, that's what it's always been about. And yeah, it's just an amazing. It's a really long album. I remember when I first started trying to get into it. Um, I used to sort of struggle getting all the way through it because the album's like an hour and something long. It's like, it's like an hour and 20. It's a
Okay.
long, long album.
Yeah.
But
That is lengthy.
the more you listen to it, the more it sort of just grows on you. And now I'm able to listen to the whole thing with no
Right.
issues whatsoever. Yeah.
Okay.
I can understand if someone was trying to get into it, they're like, it's so long. I'm like, yeah. You can
Sometimes
watch it
you
bloody.
sometimes you do fall into that bad habit of listening to an album and then you check to see how long you've got left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like most albums, like 40-ish minutes long, and then this is like double that. And it's not even a double album. It's just they've got that many songs on there, and a lot of the songs can get upwards of like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
amazing
fight's
album.
not. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. But when you've got, I think there's like how many songs are on that album? It's like 14. I don't know. How many? Do the fact checking. How many songs are on here? 16. There are 16
16.
songs on the
Okay.
album.
Oh,
Yeah, and
I'm
it
glad you fact
goes
checked that.
for an hour and 17. That's how long it goes for. So it's a long
Yeah.
bloody album, but it's amazing. Highly recommend it. They're an amazing band live, and I just love the message they spread with their music and the message of the album and the themes in the album of getting yourself out of a dark rut.
Okay. All right. Well, that's encouraging to know that um, even long albums like that from Australian bands can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Um, my number nine is a band that kind of similar to the Butterfly Effect. I guess you have experienced me talking about them before. It's a band that me and my dad hold very close to our heart. A band called Coroner.
Ah, yes, yes.
The Swiss trio, the Swiss prog metal trio from Switzerland. Hence why I said Swiss. God damn it. Grin is my favorite album from them. It is the last
Great,
album
great,
that they released in 1994. It's the one with the green face on
great.
it.
Yeah, that's up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the last time they released an album, 1994. So it's been 30 years. And
Jesus.
yeah, and apparently they've got another one coming soon in the next year or so, but they've been saying that for a couple of years now.
For about 30 years.
Yeah, they've been saying it for 30 years. Yeah. Um, yeah, this album is just so much fun. It makes me and my dad laugh when we listen to it because you put a song on and then within 5 seconds there's just a massive guitar run that just is way too over the top, or a drum fill that just goes for two measures too long that is just insanely fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with that, there's a lot of structure to their music. They kind of sound like a metal Rush in a way, with a kind of more of a like a heavier voice. It's not really hard to be heavier than Getty, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, this album empty. It was between this one and Mental Vortex for me. The album before this one, Mental Vortex is more of a traditional metal album, I think, more of a traditional thrash album. It was really hard for me to pick between the two actually because I know both songs very well, both albums very well, but this one is longer, so that's what I based it off. It gets more purely because there are more songs on the album. that means it's more enjoyable for me to listen to because
Yeah,
there's more time spent. Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, it's just insanely fast and energetic, and I love it.
I remember I have listened to all those albums, but sadly, the only song I can remember is their cover of, is it She Loves You? She's So Heavy? No, not She
She's so
Loves
heavy,
You.
yeah.
She's So
She
Heavy.
loves you, yeah.
I've combined two Beatles songs there. Yeah. Yeah, but I just
No,
remember
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. It's so random that they
Random.
wanted to
Yeah.
cover that, but
Of
they did.
all songs. It's a good cover, I remember. Besides, let's see,
Yeah,
I'm like, I feel bad I don't remember any of their original stuff. But I
yeah.
remember
Well,
that.
there we
Yeah,
go. There we
obviously.
go.
Yeah.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I have not seen these guys live. My dad has. I think he tried to get me like sneak me in, not like drive me there to sneak in, but he tried to like buy a ticket and just like I don't know, say, oh come on, these guys aren't really coming here again for a while, so surely you can just let him in. I think I was 17, but I
Yeah.
don't. He obviously didn't have any luck, so
Yeah.
um,
That's
yeah,
unfortunate.
yeah. Oh well.
Where were they playing at?
Um, it was a bar in Sydney. I'm not sure what bar. It
Like a
wasn't. It
Manning bar or
wasn't.
something?
It. I'm not sure. It wasn't a venue like Horton Pavilion or something. It was like a just a pub or a bar.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah.
So they
I'm not sure.
Manning Bar gets a lot of like underground sort of metal bands. And I think that could fit like a few hundred people if you want to go see them. That's my if I had to guess, but
Could have been there.
I could
Dad, let me
look
know.
it up.
Yeah. I'll just get. Yeah.
Hi, Mark.
um.
Um,
Yeah. Just very underrated band, and I wanted to put them in. And
yeah,
I turns out I like that album slightly more than Modern Artillery or anything that the Living End have put out. So there we go.
kind of hurts to hear because I love the big end, but I get
So do I.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
What's next?
Number eight, a band that we've already talked about. Can't remember which episode it was. A band that we have seen live together twice.
Okay.
Um, and we'll be seeing for a fourth time in November. I kind of like these guys. Had to see them for a fourth time. 21 Pilots. Hell yeah.
Where did I
And
have
the
them on my
album,
list? They were
yeah, yeah,
around the
Vessel.
16 mark.
No.
Right. Okay.
Which
Oh.
album do you think?
Um, I don't think you'll say. I reckon you'll be. Wait, don't you like Trench?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Love that album. Masterpiece. The production on it, the Tyler's rapping on it, like on Levitate, is just amazing. Um, I don't know, something about this album is just magical to me. And I just think they had such a massive pressure after the success of Blurry Face to like really deliver. And the fact that, in my opinion, I feel like they outdid themselves by like by a landslide is unbelievable. I remember when the album first came out, and I got the CD. The CD lived in the good old Renault, lived in the CD slot for a month. That was the
There we
only
go.
album I listened to for an entire month. I was obsessed with it.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and I eventually got to the point I'm like, okay, I need to listen to something else.
Right.
I like forced myself to listen to something else. I was so in love with it. I did your trick. I think it's something about that Renault, just only having one CD in there for like 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good way to just completely binge something. Yeah.
Yeah. Because from memory, didn't like once the album ended, it would just like immediately just restart. So you could just listen to it forever. You didn't have to keep. I can't remember.
Yeah. I think it
I
looped.
think that's what it
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I think it just looped. So yeah, you just hopped in and then it was I'm up to this part of the album.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um
Okay. Now, interesting choice personally. But I'm not surprised because I know that you liked
yeah.
the album a lot. It still hasn't grown on me yet. Um, but I want it to at some stage.
Yeah,
I think Jumpsuit is one of their best songs, which is
absolutely.
a bit of a cop out to say because it's probably the most popular song on that album. But um,
Yeah, yeah. I know, but I love that song just because it's for 21 parts. That's quite heavy
yeah,
for them,
yeah,
at
it is.
least.
Yeah, I think it's their
Um,
heaviest album easily.
yeah, yeah, probably again why I like it. Um, but I just love the production on it. It's
Mm.
so smooth and just so easy to listen to. And some songs, like a song like My Blood, it's just like so atmospheric to listen to. Like it's an album that you should really listen to with headphones.
You know what?
It just
I'm gonna make this my top priority album to listen to after this. Um,
finally.
yeah, it's an album I know, but not
Yeah.
nearly as much as you. Yeah.
Have you listened to Clancy yet? The new one?
I did. I did. Yeah, I don't have much to
Thoughts?
say about it at this stage. It was
Damn it.
it was alright, as Charles would say. It was
It was
alright.
what? It was all right.
Yeah. Um. Yeah.
Did you
Well,
enjoy
we
it? Enjoy it with a glizzy?
mate. There's so many things we could talk about that man, and probably get cancelled within a week.
Oh, absolutely. Within a week, probably in 5 minutes.
um. Yeah. That we probably will end up doing a 21 Pilots a top episode.
Yeah,
So I think we should save all of our juicy stuff for then.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Favorite song on it is Cat Cheetah, and the topic of this song is so, I think, so unique. So he basically, Tyler was saying he was having writer's block. He said he was sitting there for days and days and was unable to write a song. He said he couldn't come up with a riff or a lyric, nothing. And so he decided to come up with this idea of, I'm going to write a song about writer's block. And that's
Mm,
this song. And I don't know, I just found that so unique.
it's genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and the ending bit, it's such an unusual rhythm because he does this weird rhythm like pet cheetah, a cheetah, and it's so weird, and I love it. I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, "What the fuck?" But I love it now. And
Okay.
live, it's amazing. It's an amazing song live as well.
Okay.
I got the same again with Charles, December 2018. It's the last time I have seen them, probably 6 years ago. And that concert was amazing. We were right up the front. We were really close to Josh because there's the bit where he comes out on the drum island,
Mm,
and we're really really close. I might send you some photos before I put some up on the screen as well for the video watchers to give you an idea of how close I was. But
okay.
amazing concert, and they always
Yep.
put on a hell of a show, and I'm so excited to see him in November. I think it'll be worth the 6 year wait.
Yeah. Yep. No,
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll hear a lot of positives out of that.
yeah.
Okay. Number eight. My number eight is. You might kill me for the fact that I can't actually remember if you had these guys on, and that means that if you don't, then it's going to be a spoiler that you do later on. Green Day.
No,
You haven't had them.
I just no, they're not on here.
Okay.
But now
Okay.
I know what album you're about to say. I'm like, fuck. That was an album that crossed my mind.
American Idiot.
Oh shit. Okay, I thought we were gonna go Dookie.
Yeah. I was. Yeah.
Whoa.
It was a toss up. It was a toss up. But I remember when you gave me this album just before I went away to the
To
UK.
Europe. Yeah. Oh, UK. Yeah.
Well, I went on my Europe trip. It was to the
Yeah.
UK first.
Yeah.
Went straight to England. Yeah, I remember how obsessed I was with this album. I think I actually thanked you for finally turning changing my mind that Green Day were actually a
Yeah.
very
What was the famous quote? They're an American what? They're lame living end or American living end or something.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
not the
I
smartest
think I think he
analogy.
said something like, yeah, they're just lame living ends. And I was just like, what?
I actually don't think
They
they're that
sound
similar,
so
to be
different.
honest.
No, they're
Yeah,
not.
yeah,
It's pop punk and then like how would you even describe living end? It's like
just rock.
punk barnyard.
Yeah, punk barnyard got the banjo out there, mate.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, got Scott with a bloody double bass name.
yeah, yeah, true. Um, yeah, and I chose this over Dookie because Dookie came later in my Green Day phase.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. This album is so good. I watched a video the other day actually. Perfect timing. It was it summed up that this was a redemption album pretty much because
Yeah.
they
It's
lose a
after
lot of their
Warning.
recordings.
Yes.
Yeah,
So the
after
story goes that the recordings were stolen. We still to this day we
yeah
don't know if that's really true or not.
yeah. Who knows? Who
But
knows?
it's sort of like it doesn't matter if it was or wasn't. We got this bloody album. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the final product of a band that really wanted. I think they really knew what they wanted to do. They did Insomniacs in '95, and to me that was their last. That it was Dookie then Insomniacs, and from then I'm actually not a fan of the other two in between them.
Yeah, like Nimrod.
I like Nimrod, but it's got way too many fillers on it. Personally,
Damn,
um,
I love Nimrod.
it's good, but um, like Hitching a Ride and all of the absolute classics on there
Yeah.
are great, but that and Warning, they obviously don't compare to Dookie or American Idiot, and
Yeah,
yeah, I
no.
don't know, I America, it's so fun, it's angry, um, it's political in a way that I I I guess it is a bit preachy to be honest. I'm not big on like politics in music or anything to be
Yeah.
honest. But I don't really mind it.
Yeah.
I think it's
I
done.
mean punk is political though. Like
Yeah,
it's based
exactly.
off yeah. Like if you listen to any punk band, it's always political.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so much fun. Jesus of Suburbia is a pioneering punk song, I think. I
Mm.
think it's still early enough where it can be considered a pioneering song. Just was anyone doing like compilation songs of like five or six different ideas shoved into one, apart from like within like punk rock?
Within that genre,
Yeah,
I can't think of anyone. The closest I could think of, they're not really pop punk. I'm just thinking of Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance because that song is like three songs in one.
right. Okay.
That's the closest I can think of. That album came out in 2000. Oh God, it was a very similar time. Very, very
Okay.
similar time.
Yep. Yep.
It was for early
Right.
2000s. So
Well, yeah. I've just got a lot of I overplayed this album a lot.
yeah,
I think it's I think my sisters whenever they hear a Green Day song, it they always they're always reminded of me apparently, and I think it would
yeah,
be mainly to do with this album
yeah,
and and Basket Case. I think
yeah. Anytime I think of Basket Case, my brain instantly goes to the performance
yeah, which
that we did.
we nailed that. That was probably our
That
best
was a
performance. I think.
great performance. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
can
just
still
remember
hear
feeling
the
so
people.
good about that.
It was like genuinely one of the loudest cheers I've ever like received. I was like, holy
Yeah,
shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing. Um, but yeah, I wanted to include this, and upon a re-listen, I was like, well, a lot of these songs are very cheesy and overplayed. Boulevard of Broken Dreams,
Yeah,
Wake Me Up When
Holiday.
September Ends, Holiday, songs that I could go again. I could never listen to again in my life and go, I'm satisfied with that. But
Yeah.
part of this album is the commercialness of it, and you can't have a successful album like this without those songs. So it's
Yeah.
fine to listen to all in one.
It's funny. It's funny that you say that Jesus is Suburbia is your favorite because I think that's the only one on the album that's like, yeah, it's played a lot, but I'm not sick of it.
Yeah,
Like
same.
I still love that song.
Yep.
But yeah, I get why you love this album, and I'm glad that I was able to get you onto it. Um, I have such a fond memory of like when this album came out as a kid. I would have like this little CD player, and I'd take it with me to school, and like I'd listen to it on the bus during my lunch break on the way home, and I did that for like probably a few weeks to a month.
There we
And
go.
it's just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I was just, it was sort of like any opportunity I could to listen to this album, I would. I believe it's probably like the first album ever that I was like obsessed with. I was like, I was like 7 or 8, you know, that I just
Yeah.
wore out that CD. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I love how I think I'm as a kid, even now actually, but I never heard like an album where tracks like blended into one another.
Mm, mm.
And that album does it so effortlessly. And I love now when albums do that because it's such a rare thing. But yeah, it's an amazing album. It's iconic. Um,
And you're
and it's
gutted
quite,
that you didn't put in your list.
yeah, the album didn't cross my mind, and now I feel like an absolute idiot. I'm an Australian idiot. How about that?
Ooh,
Wow. I
okay.
don't even know where I'd place it. I feel like it would fit in there. Yeah.
It's surprising to hear that you well not surprising, it's interesting to hear that you wouldn't know between Dookie or this for me. But no, it's absolute no brainer for me personally.
I think it's because I remember you being absolutely obsessed with both, but for some reason I think maybe because it was more recent, you were more obsessed with Dookie.
Yeah.
Because I remember you'd say to me like you would take a shower and you'd play like She in the
Yeah.
background, you know. Because you said I think you said because that was the length of that song was like how long you wanted your shower to go or something.
Oh,
I remember
really?
you saying to me. It's something like that.
Oh,
It was like
wow.
5 minutes,
Okay.
4 minutes, or 5 minutes, or how long that song is. So like you said, you put it on, have a shower, and when it ended, you get out. You're like, yep, that's my shower time. I don't know, it's something like that.
These days, it's probably more like the Gang of Youths album
Yeah,
that you brought up before.
yeah, you're a different hour and a half. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
You're like
What's
Paul,
yours?
you're Paul water bill, mate.
Yeah. Yeah. I probably shouldn't joke about that because it can certainly be an issue, the old water usage.
Yeah, yeah. But Jem's not too impressed.
Hers are way longer than mine. She's got nothing to she's got nothing to pin me on.
Don't worry, this episode's been going on for so long, she won't make it this far into the episode.
Normally what happens.
So this is the first 5 minutes. But they shut up. Tons of them.
Yeah.
Um, number 7. Um, a band. I think I've showed you this album, and I remember you saying you liked it. Linkin Park Meteora.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, I remember you saying you liked it, which I was very happy about. Did you listen?
I
Did you listen to like Hybrid Theory or anything?
I have. I have.
Yeah.
It's kind of in the realm of Trench with me, like other Linkin Park albums. How
Ah,
I've
yeah,
listened to them, but nothing sensational at this stage.
yeah,
Um,
uh,
Meteor is my favorite Linkin Park album.
yeah.
So there we go.
It's such a toss up between that and Hybrid Theory, but I think unfortunately with Hybrid Theory, I think it's just like I've heard it that much. I still love it to bits, but it's just like I've heard Crawling in the end, Paper Cuts. What else is on that album? One Step Closer. Like I've heard those songs. Like I love those songs, but I've heard them that much. The whole like I guess the emotional response is kind of faded. Whereas with
Yeah.
this album, I can listen to it. There's a lot of songs on here. I'm still like, holy crap, I've heard these songs a lot, but that emotional response is still there.
Mm.
Um, and it's a very short album. It's only like 30 minutes as well.
Yeah,
Very, very fast
yeah,
album.
that's something I do
Um,
remember.
yeah, which is the only thing I dislike about it. It's just it's too short. I'm like, I want more. Um, my favorite song on it was so hard to pick. It was a toss up, but this time I've gone with Faint. I just love the
Okay.
riff on that. Or the octave. It's because they've got two guitars going, and one's playing like octaves while the other one's still like the heavy, like just the one finger classic drop D thing. And the blend of that together makes it such a full sound.
Mm.
Um, I remember listening to like they released because I think the 20th anniversary of it came out last year, and on it they had like all the demos and archival crap. And on it they released the demo for Faint, and originally it didn't have like those the octave part, and it sounded shit. It sounded really bad.
Yeah,
Maybe
right.
because I'm so
Okay.
used to hearing it with the octaves, but I was just listening to it, I was just
Just
like,
sounded really empty. Yeah.
yeah, I was just like, what the hell is that?
Okay.
But I'm so glad they added that in. It just yeah, really added to the sound. Um, yeah. Linkin Park's just a band I'm always gonna love. They're such a nostalgic band. Like me and my brother grew up listening to them. It was almost like a tradition. It was so weird. They always, 'cause my brother's birthday's in June, and they would always release an album around that time. It'd be like the end of May, middle of June, sort of
Mm.
thing. And I'd always say to him, like, even if it's like past his birthday, I'd be like, Dorian, in like 2 weeks, the album's coming out, I'll buy it for you, kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, and sadly, last time I got to do that was in 2017 with One More Light. After, uh,
Mm.
well, I bought it before he passed. Chester Bennington passed away, but yeah, I still miss Chester Bennington. Absolute
Mm.
unreal frontman. Screamed like no tomorrow, but yeah,
Underrated voice in just music, I think.
yeah, yeah. He's someone that when he passed away, it upset me more than I was expecting it to.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That's my number seven.
Fantastic. Um, yeah, my number seven is an album that some people might be pretty surprised that I like, especially this high up. Um, I think you know that I like this album. Um, the Marshall Mathers LP,
Ah,
the first
yes,
one.
yes.
Um, Eminem's best album. Um, I've
Yeah,
I've barely explored the rap hip hop universe. Definitely not as much as I would like to because it is a genre of
yeah,
music that is popular amongst the masses, which has kind of been, I guess, a biased reason why I haven't explored it. But
yeah,
I should. But I know that this album is very beloved, and it's definitely beloved by me as well. I think it's amazing. Um,
yeah.
it's so angry. He's so pissed at everything. His wife,
His
ex-wife,
mom,
his mum,
his
yeah,
whole life.
everything. And I think it's done in a really clever way. It's done really smoothly. Like again, we're talking about like smooth transitions between songs,
Yeah,
continuous continuous tracks that just sound awesome. Stan and Real Slim Shady, I guess, are the overplayed like the Boulevard of Broken Dreams kind of things.
yeah,
But Stan especially, I really like that song. I think it's great.
yeah.
Um, I think it just sums up that he always like I mean, it was his breakthrough, wasn't it? This album,
Album before,
essentially.
uh, so the first album, Slim Shady. It's one of those things like he released that first album, Slim Shady LP, and that was big. That has like My Name Is. Oh my God, the track list is really escaping that. But like, he put that out, and he was fairly well known. He was
Yep.
big and was like, wow, this guy's great. But then he put this out, and then that's when it became like Eminem. It became like massive. You
Yeah.
know, it's
Yep.
sort of like that first album was like a multi-platinum, like it sold millions, like 2, 3 million, whatever. And then this one came out and it sold like tens of millions.
Yeah. Yep.
So like, yeah,
No, it's just he doesn't give a shit at all. about anything
Yeah.
he says on the album. I think every derogatory word you could possibly think of is on it.
I think so, yeah.
Which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
Um, it does have Ken Kniff on it, which I laugh at when I listen to it. The infamous one that
Oh,
like a minute long.
did you say one
Yeah,
time you got in your car and your sister was
yeah,
look?
yeah. I think I think yeah. I was driving them to get like a Santa photo or something. That started playing. I'm like,
Got
oh
this
no.
wholesome trip. Oh yeah. It's just-
Yeah, that's not something you want to play to your
Two
younger
siblings.
siblings,
Yeah.
obviously, especially back then. Um, yeah, I I don't know what. Actually, my favorite song is "Kill You." I think. I don't know why.
Yeah, the opening track, yeah.
Yeah,
It's what
technically the yeah technical opening track.
yeah.
Yeah,
After he tells you, is that the one I guess he
this
Marshall
album
Mathers tells
is
you
brought
he's
to
like
you in
he
part
can
by Slim T.
yeah, he can suck his fucking cock.
Yeah, yeah. Like I bought this album like as a CD. Like real um spontaneously one day. I just went to JB Hi-Fi and you're like, no what? I think I looked it up. And I saw that this was like his biggest. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna get it. I put it on in the car and I'm like, this is actually awesome. This is sick.
Yeah,
Especially
yeah,
that opening track, like the dialogue. I'm like,
yeah.
where's this gonna go? And it took me on a real journey of just like I'm not I'm far from an angry person, but like it's just complete anger and emotion. It was just completely
Yeah.
raw. I'm like, wow, this is unbelievable.
This is an angry
Um,
man. Yeah.
yeah, yep. And yeah, I wanted to include this, and the more I take time away from it and then come back to it, like when I was putting this list together, I listened to it for the first time in maybe like 3 years. I'm like, wow, it still holds up. I still remember like
Yeah.
some of the most of the lyrics on specific songs and like the
Yeah.
timings of the raps. I'm like, wow, okay,
Yeah.
I, I think it deserves a place.
Yeah. It's such an iconic album. And it's sort of sad that he's never gotten that good again. I mean, I also love Eminem Show, which is the album that follows this one. I really love that one as well.
Yeah, yep,
But I
that
think
is good.
after that, he's just never captured it. I don't think. Like he's had a
Songs
couple.
were good. Songs were good rather than
He's
albums.
yeah. I mean, you got something like Rap God. You know,
Yeah,
2013, I think. I want to say something like that.
yeah, around then. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Number six. I want to establish that Dave Grohl is a great man. I
Rest
wish
in
we
peace to his
uh
social status.
his, his family.
Oh yeah, them, the people that are most affected by this.
Yeah. Fuck, I really wish we were able to record prior to all this. Foo Fighters, the color in the show.
Yeah, that's not
Um,
this is very
I was gonna say with
unsurprising.
no surprises here. It's gonna be so hard to talk positively about this album, but I do love this album. But it's just because
Talk about the
it's
music because it's completely
yeah,
unrelated to what happened. Yeah,
yeah, I know. Uh, it's just an iconic '90s album. I believe it's their
majorly.
best album as well. They've also got other great albums, but like this one, it's just like I don't know. That's just such an emotional album. Ironically, what inspired this album was his first divorce. So maybe that's been the sort of the running joke. Everyone's like, "Well, we're going to Color in the Shape Part 2." Um,
No, we won't because
no, we won't.
I think he's well past his best before. I think.
He's from. Their new
Yeah.
album's actually amazing. Have you listened to it yet?
No.
Um,
I haven't listened to anything since whatever the album that I always forget the name of was like something from nothing. That was the last
oh, Sonic Highways.
yeah, Sonic Highways, yeah. That was the last
What?
album I really
So
paid attention to.
you haven't listened to Concrete and Gold?
Not properly,
It's
no.
got, whoa. Really, you should listen to.
Oh,
But here we are. It's the album they released last year. It's actually amazing.
okay.
It's just like I was like, whoa! It's like so emotional because he obviously Taylor passed away, but he also lost his mum, and that's basically what the whole album's about. And it's just like there's a song on there called "The Teacher," and it's a double entendre. I like how I'm talking about a completely different album. There's a song on there called the Teacher, which is a double entendre because his mum was a school teacher, but it's also because like she taught him through life as a
Right.
mum.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
okay.
and it's like how long is it? I want to say it's like 10 minutes.
Hmm.
It's like it's a long song and it's amazing. And when I got to see him live in December, he did it and he brought like the Jimmy Page double neck guitar. I was like, whoa, okay. I didn't
Damn.
expect to see Dave with that, but no, I didn't expect. I'm gonna stop. Uh, but it's got all the classic songs. So Color and Shape, it's got all the classic songs. It's got your Monkey Wrench, My Hero, Everlong. Um, what else is on this album? My personal favorite, which is Hey Johnny Park. It's one of my favorite.
That's one of my favorites. That's
Yeah,
underrated. Yeah.
yeah, very underrated song. I just love the drum performance on it, and I love towards the end of the song when the song really explodes. Dave's vocals are fucking brutal. Not brutal, I shouldn't say that, but like really just emotional.
They're so shit.
Like I don't know, they're just really emotional. Like it sounds like he's just tearing a hole in his throat, and I
Hmm.
love it. There's a
Okay.
bit where something like now I found my reward, and the way he says reward, I love. I don't know, just the way the tone is
Hmm.
awesome. But yeah, great album.
I'm surprised it's this far down, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm
me
I'm
too,
I'm surprised it's not
me
higher
too.
up.
But I don't know. There's just other albums that I think I love this album because it's like it's a nostalgia album. I also oh, love Dave. We'll see how I and so it's just like
I
it's an
I was about
album
to say
that's
something, but I won't.
really so
No, I was just going to say that he loves people outside of his marriage too, outside of his family too. Um, but
the band. He loves his bandmates. That's who he loves.
until they until they decide to not be around anymore, maybe that. What's next? I've got. Is it my number
You,
six?
it's number six.
Um, yeah. Sorry, guys, but I just
Yeah,
had to slip in a
yeah, edit out a little joke there.
yeah. I'm
Sadly, it
not.
was a very good one, but we could not include it.
If you talk to me in person, I'll tell you, but it's something I'm not going to say over the internet.
Yeah.
um,
Oh shit.
so my number six is an album that has really grown on me in the past, I reckon 5 years. It's an album I've always loved and a very popular album. Um, Master of Puppets by a little metal
Damn.
band called Metallica. Um, yeah, I always loved And Justice for All. That was always my
Yeah.
yeah. That was always my favorite. Um, then I decided to do a playthrough of all the Metallica albums up until I think it was Hardwired was the recent one then. And then I just kept listening to Master of Puppets. I'm like, you know what, this is genuinely an amazing metal album. I think it's almost the perfect representation
Yeah.
of what thrash metal is.
The production on the album's insane. for that to be a
Yeah,
mid-80s album. It sounds
absolutely.
like it came out
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, yep. Agreed, agreed. Um, yeah, I think it's got the best opening track that they've ever done in Battery.
Battery, yeah.
Yep. Master of Puppets, as overplayed as it is, especially I hate the fact it was played on Stranger Things and people loved
Oh, yeah.
Metallica because they
Yeah.
knew a 2 minute clip from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I it's got their most underrated song, Disposable Heroes. I think that is
Love that song. That's my favorite on the
yeah,
album.
yeah, that's my favorite too.
So, so
Um,
good.
yeah, I it would be boring to talk about this album anymore because mainly for the fact that we're talking about Metallica in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to say too much because I am making an assumption that it might not be the last we hear of Metallica. But this is my favorite. It's grown on me. Um, I think it's their absolute peak. In my opinion, it is their peak. Such a shame that Cliff died
Yeah.
because I feel like we would have got Metallica 2.0. But then again, they would have turned into Megadeth and Slayer and Anthrax, where they just keep producing stuff as like I don't know. It would have just been continuous kind of dribble that has just gone on for too long, like those other three,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Um, so in a way, it was the album. It was their last. It was the album that really shaped their future. I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, just want to know what made you change from Injustice to Puppets.
I don't
Because
know.
I remember you frothed Injustice.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, ironic being a bass player and having that as my favorite Metallica album. But I don't know. I don't know. It's just the I think it goes back to the heaviness. Um, just the tone of I think it's the tone of the guitar, to be honest.
Yeah, they're heavy as fuck. Yeah.
Not even the bass or drums or the vocal. The vocals are great
Yeah.
as well, but I just think the guitars sound awesome, and
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect length as well. I think And Justice for All, as great as it is, I think it goes for slightly too long. I think all the songs are. I think they could. I think they could have at least put maybe
15
one or
minutes
two shorter
long.
songs in there. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, there's a better variety of song length. Just like
Yeah.
it's a bit better than Injustice for All. So, um,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think like the shortest Injustice for All songs, I think it's like 6 minutes.
I think it's Blackened, isn't it? The opening song
It's,
or Dyer's
I'm
Eve at
pretty
the
sure,
end.
I want to say it's Dyer's Eve. I think Black is like 7 minutes.
Yeah,
I think. I don't
and
know,
then the
but yeah,
rest are
like
like nine.
the shortest song is like 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's mental. But for most albums, that's
yeah.
usually the longest one.
I'm not really complaining about it. But as yeah, I mean it would just a general rule of thumb. Like normally it is good to have some variety, and I think that's
Yeah,
what Master of Puppets does. So
yeah.
that's why I would put that further up.
Love that album. And as you said, won't be the last we hear of Metallica.
All right, on
Oh,
to the last stage, I guess you can call it.
5.
Number five.
Number 5. Um, trying to you listen. You've definitely heard of them. I think this is another one of those bands. I'm like, I want you to listen to them. I just don't think you ever got around to them. I genuinely think you would love this band, Radiohead.
Mm. Yep, yep.
Have you listened to anyone?
In the Tool category. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. My favorite album. So they've got like two albums that are like their magnum opuses. Um, I think for me, for me, it's OK Computer. That's their really big one. I think for me is because I did a similar thing to you with like Eminem, where I was just trying to discover other artists and other stuff, and I'd always heard of Radiohead, and then I just looked up what's Radiohead's best album, and this album popped up, and I was like, all right, I went and got it and I listened to it, and I was just like,
Mm.
wow, what an album! The
Okay.
songwriting, Tom York is such a phenomenal songwriter. Johnny Greenwood is the guitarist. It's just I don't know. Like my favorite song on this album, to give you an insane, an idea of how insane Johnny Greenwood is as a guitarist. Um, this song called Paranoid Android, which is the second track. I've written down the how do I word this? What's
The lyrics.
involved in what's
Oh,
involved in the track. So just in this track alone, there's two time signatures, which between 4/4 and 7/4, which are effortlessly change. There are three key changes, which go from G minor, A minor, and C minor. There's also three tempo changes, and there are more than 10 chords used throughout the whole song, and there's no chorus.
wow. That is experimental.
It's an insane song and it's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal track. Like
What was the name of
it's
that
for
one again?
Paranoid Android.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
send it
Yeah.
to you after this episode if you want. You can give it a listen. It's unbelievable. You would love it. Like from a songwriting standpoint, it's just like, how did they even come up with this song? It just keeps changing and changing. And then they bring it back. There's like a refrain. They bring it back to like there's like a heavier kind of riff. Um, and it's amazing. I also love the theme of this album. It to me is absolutely insane because this album, I can't remember what came out. It was like late 90s. I want to say it was like 97. I want to say. That's fact check because I'm like that.
I think you're right. That,
97. I was correct. How about that?
yeah.
Um, and so the whole theme of this album is about how, again, this is 1997, how we're becoming too reliant on technology. And I find that absolutely insane. Like
Mm,
how correct Tom York was. Like no one in 97 was thinking that.
mm,
And it's just like we're becoming, it's like things so slow down and we become too reliant on technology. And it's even to the point like the album name OK Computer is the equivalent of Hey Alexa, Hey Siri, OK could be like you're talking to the technology.
yeah. True. Yeah.
I was like, wow, you know, like
Wow.
how
Yeah.
I can't even comprehend that. Um, and it's just one of those albums like the older I've
It's
gotten
weird to think about.
and as we have become more reliant on technology, it's just like it's just become almost too real at times. Um, and then there's this it's about how we become too reliant on technology, and it's also like how like people becoming robots themselves. It's like
Mm,
there's a song
just
on
drones.
there, yeah. Like there's a song on here. You would have heard it, No Surprises. It's like a ballad kind of song. And the whole song's about how the average person it's so uh, like assuming or watering down people's lives, but like it's sort of like with the average person, just they get up, they go do their job, you know, they pay their taxes, they feed themselves, they go to bed. And it's just like there's no surprises in their life. Like their life's so predictable. Like I
Mm,
can't remember the lyric, but basically saying like he doesn't have to set an alarm because his body clock's so used to like waking up at this particular time.
mm.
And it's just like it hits you just like right in the chest. You're like shit. And
Okay.
like I said, it's one of those things as I've gotten older and you know, I've become more independent with life. I'm just like, wow, this is a bit too real. So
Right. Okay. That's,
I love
yeah, that's
yeah.
genius.
Yeah, I
I like
love
that.
this album a lot. It's just as I've gotten older, I've just been able to appreciate it more and more.
Okay.
And it's yeah, I just find it mental that this album is nearly 30 years old and he not predicted, but like yeah, he basically predicted like where society was gonna go and how
Yeah.
reliant on technology we were gonna become.
Mm. Yeah, that's been on my listen list for a while now. Not Radiohead exactly, but that album because I've heard like a very unparaphrased. I've heard a very paraphrased part of like version of what you've been saying, talking
Yeah,
about. So
it,
I
it,
just,
it is an
yeah.
amazing album. Highly
Okay.
recommend.
Right. Okay. My number five. cracking into my top five is what I consider to be the best rock album of all time.
Say anger.
Saint Anger, correct. Um, no, it is a little band called Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin 2, to be
Whoa.
specific.
Okay.
Yes.
Damn.
Um, undoubtedly their best album, without a doubt, no questions asked. I don't even want to hear anything. It's between one or two for me, and that is it goes back to a previous episode. I think we said where I said that Led Zeppelin kind of fall off after a while. Not fall off, but I feel like their strength gets weaker. They
Yeah,
start
I think
they
so.
they just start with such a bang, man. One and
Yeah.
two are phenomenal.
One and two. I love three is really overlooked too. It's a lot more acoustic. Like Immigrant Song is like the only like actual rock song, and the rest of it's like so chill.
Yeah.
It's so
Yep.
weird. It's such a weird stuff. You listen to Immigrant, it's like, oh, I'm into this like, big rock album like the first two, and then the rest of it's just like him on the acoustic, and you're like, what?
Three is strange as an album, I think, because it's in between what my favorite and then what their most popular is between two and four.
Yeah,
Like it's very weird album three for me.
yeah. I love three.
But yeah, it's good,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
don't think it compares at all, especially to number
Oh
two,
no,
where I
no,
feel
no.
like um it's just so entertaining. It shows everyone's skill completely to the max, I think.
Yeah,
Um, especially old mate John Paul. The Lemon song is his best performance, his best recorded performance, I think.
yeah,
Um, a song that you might not know based on the name. Even listening to it, you might go, "Oh, I don't really think about this song much as a Led Zeppelin song."
yeah,
But when you listen to it, it's just the perfect categorization of how good they were when they were a rock band, I think.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it's got a whole lot of love, Heartbreaker, Moby Dick,
Yeah, I
Ramble
love
On.
Oh, I forgot Ramble On's on that album.
Yeah.
Shit.
So it's massive. It's a massive album. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
I'm so entertained when I listen to it.
yeah,
And it came out in 1969, which I find unbelievable.
yeah.
So yeah, it was way ahead of its time. So influential. Um, what
Starts
can I
with a
say?
whole lot of love, doesn't it? It's the opening track, then.
Yeah, yep. Opener,
Yeah, yeah.
kicking off with one of their
And
most popular songs.
with the aeroplane. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yep.
yeah. I remember someone made that joke in high school and he pissed himself. I know, I remember that.
Wait, what?
So
Was it?
the whole lot of love was playing. I can't remember who said the joke, but someone made a joke and like, oh, I think it was something. I think we had this thing like, oh, name the instruments in the song, and you put on whole lot of love, and then someone was like, oh, airplane. And you go, yeah, a bit.
Right. Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know
it's
why the
fair.
fuck I remember that. I just do. Every time I hear that song,
Mate,
I just think of that moment. I just
your memory is unmatched sometimes, honestly.
be
Um,
scared of myself sometimes, honestly.
yeah, you should be. Um, yeah, the Lemon song's my favorite. It's
Yeah.
just it sums up John Paul Jones as well. He's completely flew under the radar. He was a complete musician.
I was gonna say he's like
Um,
the George Harrison of the joke. He's of the group. He's like the one that just never seems to be mentioned.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
And he should be.
yeah,
He should be.
yeah. Phenomenal bass
Um,
player.
yeah, very underrated.
No,
Um, yeah, that's all I'll say about what I think is the best rock album of all time.
yeah,
General rock album, in my opinion.
yeah. Still think of it's their best one. I'm not gonna argue it, but I'm like, I don't know if I can agree. Because I love Four, and I love Physical Graffiti is also amazing.
I
But
recently listened. No, go on.
I was gonna say I completely understand why you love two though. Like two is phenomenal. Like 1, 2, 4, and Physical Graffiti, like I think are all phenomenal.
Yeah. I was surprised when I listened to Physical Graffiti. I listened to it properly for like maybe the third time. Um, I recently did a Led Zeppelin binge. I listened to every album. Um, and that was the better of the later albums, I thought.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Presence was okay. Um, In
I don't
Through
think I've even
the
listened to that one.
Outdoor was is not a good album at all. I don't like it.
There's only one side. Is it Full in the Rain? On the In the Rain. I
Oh,
see with the piano
yeah.
just because I
I'll
can't
take that
remember
back
the
actually, yeah.
name. The beat I can't remember what it's called, but it's like one of the hardest drum beats to play
Yeah. Well, I mean that
for that song. But it's John
Bonham
Bonham, so
classic.
it's just like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, no problem. But like I've tried
Yeah.
so many times to play that beat, I wanted to snap my sticks.
Well,
It's a hard beat,
there we
but
go.
that's yeah. I
Well,
completely yeah. I've never listened to Presence and on In Through the Outdoor. That's the only song I can remember, and because of that
um,
beat.
we'll listen to listen to all of them again, and we can
Yeah.
talk about Zeppelin in more detail.
In an upcoming episode, yeah, 100% there for that. We could do tier list if you want as well.
Yep. Yep.
Hell yeah. What are we up to? 4. Okay. A bit nervous about this one.
Okay. So am I then.
Little group, don't know if you've heard of them. Uh, the Beatles.
The what?
The Beatles.
No.
They're a pretty underground group.
Oh yeah.
I heard they still played up in what's the what's the country they went to before they get big? Was it not Hungary?
Shay.
No, I remember when they used to play at the Cavern, and then apparently they went up, played somewhere for a bit, and then they came back.
Yeah, that was Hungary, wasn't it?
Was that
Pretty sure
Hungary?
it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, there's this 4-piece Hungary group.
The
With weird haircuts or weird
yeah.
accents.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm curious to know which one this is.
What's your guess?
I'm not sure. I don't want to guess.
Yeah. To be fair, it changes a lot for me.
Okay.
It's they're one of those bands. It's like that because they got so much great stuff. It's so hard to pick one. Um, and I feel kind of lame picking this one. I went with Sergeant Pepper's,
Okay.
but I don't know. I listened to because I obviously love like I love the early stuff, but the later stuff is like that's the meat. That's yeah. Like when you
Right.
think Beatles, you think of sort of Rubber Soul onwards, Revolver. Probably most people would be Revolver onwards, but um,
I'm not surprised when you say that you um I don't know you didn't use these words, but you're embarrassed that you chose Sergeant Pepper's.
yeah.
I know
I
exactly
feel
what you
lame.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
but no, it stands on its own, to be
yeah.
honest.
It's because it's like such a yeah, but it's such an easy pick. It's such a
Yeah.
safe, easy pick. And even when I was listening to them all, I'm like, why does this have to be the one I like more? Why can't I be like different with like, oh, it's Revolver, you know?
Yellow
Yeah.
Submarine.
Yeah. We're going to do a Beatles episode. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, I'd
Some.
rather not. Yeah, go into it.
It's some. Fuck. Um, like what hasn't already been said about this album? Um, I was actually thinking about the other day how much it influenced album covers.
Yeah,
Because it's just like prior to this album, most like if you look at like early '60s, like your Elvises and that, or even like I don't know Huey Lewis and the News and all that sort of shit. A lot of those album covers, it'd just be like them standing there acting goofy, with like the album of the name being like the most popular song, and then on it would be like I don't know, it's like say take like Please Please Me for example. It says on there it's like oh Please Please Me and 12 other songs. And a
Mm.
lot of those albums, it was like advertised that way. And it's just so cheesy to look at now.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And then when like even with Beatles, like even the other albums after that are still like they're a bit cheesy, you know, like with the Beatles and even Help, standing
Mm.
around with their arms up and shit. Like they're such cheesy album covers. And then Rubber Soul and Revolver are pretty mature, but then they come out with Sergeant Pepper's, and it's just like you could stare at that album cover for like half an hour and just be able to
Yeah,
spot new shit.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely.
there's so much involved with the album cover, and it's so just so unique. And I think looking as well, I think that's one of the reasons why I love it. And like, it didn't just impact musically; it impacted like album covers. Um,
Yeah, the
and making
the
that like
impact from that album.
yeah, like the like making album covers like such a forefront rather than just the music and just being the cover just being like oh an advertisement for the music.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean the
favorite
album
song?
is the. So sorry. Yeah,
No,
say that first.
no, no, you go.
Oh no, I was just going to rudely cut in and say that this album is so good that they actually stopped touring to settle down and
To
make
make it, yeah.
Magical Mystery
Oh,
Tour and this album. Yeah,
yeah, you had to, especially with
yeah,
tapes. Like
yeah,
the whole process of the album is mental. How they would do like because they only had the 4 track, and I think what they would do is they would like record like 4 or 5 parts onto one tape, and then once that was done, they would have to like duplicate it to track one, and then they would have like the 3 tracks then, and then they use those 3 tracks.
So yeah, we had technical issues. Decided to stop recording, so now we have to re-record our top three.
yeah. Well, four technically
Oh,
because I've
four.
still got
Sorry,
my number four to go, and then yeah, the top three. So quite
very
a crucial part of
frustratingly.
it that we yeah. Oh well, that's all right. What can you do?
So
What can
what's
you do?
so what's your number four, Jordan?
Number four. So to be honest, it does feel good that I can talk about these again because obviously they're my top four favorites of all time at this stage currently right now. So my number four a is from a band that neither of us have mentioned before, but a band that we do love very much. Well, the early stuff anyway. Um, Megadeth,
Limp
Rust in
Bizkit.
Peace.
Oh, fair enough.
Limp Bizkit, yeah, they're
Yeah.
close second. Yeah. Um, Rust in Peace, great, fantastic metal album. I still think it is arguably the best thrash metal album of all time. I don't know what they did. They went from So Far, So Good, So What, which is great, Peace Sells, which is also really good, to they just flicked a switch, I think. Honestly,
Yeah.
Dave just I don't know what Dave did. There's something about it that's
Cocaine.
just amazing. That a lot of other things that would probably not bode well for our commentary.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just really enjoyed listening to this album. Every time I listen to it, I'm instantly in awe of the skills, I guess, because it's definitely the most technical album as well as the most popular.
Oh, yeah.
Majorly,
Absolutely.
I love the rhythm guitar. I love what Dave does, even though I feel like he definitely hogs a lot of the lead guitar parts as well, because it's kind of in his nature.
Yeah.
Holy Wars, I think, is arguably again the best opener of a metal album of all time.
But there's a take. I'd say it's
Arguably,
for like top five or three. It would be up there.
well, again, the word is arguably. I feel like it's a very safe word to use because you can get away with saying some hot takes every now and then.
Yeah.
Tornado of Souls, I think, is my favorite because that was the song that made me really fall in love with this album. I prefer to
Yeah.
listen to Holy Wars and songs like Hangar 18, but yeah, Tornado of Souls is probably the best
Yeah.
on there.
When I luckily got to see him at Knotfest last year, and they came out playing like Hangar 18 and Tornado of Souls, I was just like, holy shit. So good. So good.
Mate, I'm very jealous.
They yeah, out of all the bands that were there, that they were easily the one I was most excited for. Like they weren't even the headliners. I was just so keen to see him. Love him, love him, love him.
Megadeth are a very weird band because obviously they wouldn't have existed if James and Lars were a bit more, what's the word? Fair on Dave, I guess, because they
Yeah.
were just as bad. From my outside knowledge, like 40 years later, I feel like they were just as bad back in the day.
Yeah,
But obviously they saw something that they didn't like about him, and I'm glad that they kicked him out because we wouldn't have got the early Megadeth stuff, which is
yeah,
fantastic thrash metal. And this album is just it is definitely the best lineup they've ever had as well,
absolutely.
without a doubt.
Marty
And
Friedman, Nick Menza, Dave Ellefson, Dave Mustaine, just perfect.
yeah, it's pinpoint, absolutely pinpoint. And I love the album cover on this album actually. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's every time I look at it, I look at it for like maybe like 10 seconds. I scroll past it and go, oh yeah, there it is. I don't know. Just that
it's
I don't know.
iconic.
There's something about the blue just draws me in.
Yeah,
I can't put my finger on it.
the green like gem thing that Vic
Yeah.
Rattlehead's holding.
Yeah. And a hot take, I guess, this album is single-handedly why I think like it's 80% of why I think 90s thrash metal is I mean, obviously 80s in general is the best, but it's a very, very close well, obviously it would have been a close second, but behind the 80s, the 90s, but it really carries a lot of the metal in the 90s, I think, single-handedly because of this album.
Yeah, it's I would say probably 90s started strong, but then probably got weaker as it as the 90s went on
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
for the
yeah.
most part. The only would you call them thrash? I was gonna say Pantera. Not really well, more just metal, just like your standard metal.
Hmm.
Because if I had to say who was like the best metal band of the 90s, I'd probably point at Pantera, but yeah, they had a strong start with this and then Countdown to Extinction.
Hmm.
And then I mean, Euthanasia and all that's great as well, but doesn't, I mean, no one's going, oh my God, Euthanasia. You know?
I love the Killing Road's a good song, but apart from that,
Yeah.
very hit or miss as an
Still a
album.
great
Yeah.
album, but it's just, no one's picking that over Rust in Peace.
Yeah. You got me into this album as well, pretty sure, because we were obviously talking about
No.
Metallica. You did. You did. I remember my dad talking about it, saying, "Oh yeah, we'll get onto that." But I think you like actually pulled the band-aid for me.
Are you sure? I always thought your dad got you into them.
I thought it was you.
I mean,
I
I'll
don't
take
know.
the credit, but I doubt it.
I think Dad got like P-cells from the library or something, or something like that. Like we started off with those, pretty sure, and then we just eventually upgraded to their best. Rest in peace, but no, well, that's all right.
Oh, yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, I showed it to you, and yeah, you're welcome.
I'll cut out the other part. Rodeo, what's your
Oh, yeah.
what's your number three?
Number three, well, sticking to the thrash metal. This is my favorite band of all time. My favorite album by them. It switches back and forth between this and the album that comes after this. But Metallica Ride the Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I have such a massive love for this album, as well as Master of Puppets. But something about this album, it's just that bit darker. Um, for some reason that draws me in. I don't know what that says about me, but um, like I would definitely say that production wise, Master of Puppets is the better album. Because this sounds muddy at certain times. But the songwriting on this album is just like such a step up from Kill 'Em All. And the musicianship and the riffs, just everything is just like so much more well thought out. Like you listen to Kill 'Em All and it just sounds like four dudes in a garage just trying to play as fast as possible. and then you get to Ride the Lightning, and it sounds like they've actually sat down and gone, all right, let's actually think about what we're writing. No diss to Kill 'Em All, but it's like it feels like there's been more thought put into these songs.
That's actually a really good way
Um,
of explaining it. That's spot on. Yeah.
um, but yeah, I just so many iconic songs on this album. You got, see if I can memorize the track list off the top of my head. So you got Fight Fire with Fire, Ride the Lightning, For Whom the Bell Tolls, Fade to Black, Trapped Under Ice, Escape, Creeping Death, Call Cthulhu, I believe is the track list
I think you're
from the
right.
top of my head. Something
Yeah.
like that. Shows you how much I've listened to this album.
Was that just an excuse to just flex that you really know this album?
Absolutely.
Or, yeah, okay, fair enough.
If that's not the right order, I know that at least they're the songs. But I would argue that 7 out of 8 of these songs are iconic. Escape, even the band doesn't like it. I'm to it. It's indeed a song. They were forced to write it, I believe, is the story, by the label, and they sort of just threw this song together. And to this day, I think James has been publicly outspoken of how much he dislikes the song. And I believe they've only ever played it once. I think it was like for their 30th or 40th anniversary of this album. They played the whole album in full. That's been the only time ever, I believe, they've played it. My favorite song on this is For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's a hard choice, but I just have to go with this one. It's probably the most recognizable song on this album.
I'd say so.
Yeah. And for the longest time, the intro bit with the bass, I did not think it was a bass. I thought it was a guitar. Which just shows
I don't
how
think you're the only one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just goes to show how amazing Cliff Burton was. That he could make his bass sound like a guitar. Like there's not many bass players who could do that. Not sure what else to really say about this album. It's just iconic as hell. I love it a lot. Fade to Black is also a song I believe, like, even if you're not a metalhead, you should hear. It's such a beautiful song, and it just punches you in the gut. Because James wrote that, I believe they had a bunch of their, when they were touring Kill 'Em All, I think they had a bunch of their gear stolen, and James became so depressed about all that. He wrote Fade to Black, which it's shit they had their gear stolen, but I'm also like, thank you to the guy who stole their gear, because now we got Fade to Black.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah. Love this album.
Yep. I know. I know that it was always going to be in your top 3, at least top 5. Yeah. Definitely up there. Great. Okay. That was also a nice transition from Megadeth to Metallica as well.
Metallica, yeah. I swear that we're like the only 2 people in the world that appreciates both Megadeth and Metallica. Every other one's like, you can only like one or the other. It's just like, you love both, brother. They're both amazing.
But at the same time, they definitely both have their downfalls as well. And I feel
absolutely.
like only true fans and people that understand can have those opinions, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My number 3 is a band that we have not spoken about yet. Again, a band that everybody knows that I love very much. Iron Maiden. Powerslave is my favorite album of them. I would say by far, actually. I do like the Number of the Beast. I think that's a close second. And I remember liking Somewhere in Time a lot back in the day, like back when I was into them early, back in high school. But Powerslave is the most consistent for me over the stretch of time, because it was the first one that I heard. I remember going into JB Hi-Fi with my dad, and he was thrown back, because obviously he hadn't been listening to them either for a long time. And then he was like, "Oh, you know what? I'm just going to buy it." Or I bought it, because he recommended me to buy it. And I bought that, Peace of Mind, Number of the Beast, and Somewhere in Time all together.
Bloody
and then
hell.
I remember driving home from JB Hi-Fi in the car with Dad, and as soon as Aces High came on, it was an experience. It was a musical experience that I think changed the way that I see music, but it definitely changed the way that I played bass as well, because
Oh yeah.
Steve Harris was a major influence for me as even a like early songwriter with you guys. Like there was definitely a lot of influence from him put into our music.
Yeah.
But yeah, ever since hearing Power Slave, the entire album, I was just, wow, is this what? Because it was definitely apart from hearing the old Metallica song or like before when I had a pretty basic music taste, um, it was Power Slave was probably the heaviest I'd really explored, which is saying something because it's not a heavy album. They aren't a heavy band, but they're still heavy metal with distortion and
Yeah.
that I hadn't really heard before. And just the songwriting on there is just it's definitely their peak. It's sad that their peak lasted uh only into the mid
4 or 5
'80s.
years. Yeah.
Yeah. From there, it was a gradual decline with occasional hits every now and then.
Yeah.
Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner is still a barrier breaking song.
Love that song. It's like
13
15 minutes,
minutes
isn't it?
of
Oh, 13. Oh.
I think it's like 13:41 or something. But yeah, every time I hear that, I feel like I hear something that I've never heard before. It's just, I didn't really notice that part until I listened to it just then. I don't know. There's a lot I can say about this album and this band. Um, I do have a bit of a bias towards the later stuff, but I'm trying my best to get over that and just actually give it a go properly. But
Yeah.
it's I'm always drawn back to this album specifically.
It's hard to listen to their later stuff because even I'll try and give it a crack, and then I'm just like, I could be listening to like Power Slave, a number of the beats. Like, why would I be listening to? I don't know. It's like the Frontier. I think it's one of the new ones. It's like, why would I listen to this when I've got, you know?
Yeah,
It's,
exactly.
it's like wow. It's I don't know. It's so hard to listen. I don't know. I don't know how to compare it. It's like
Just the
eating
sign
like
of a it's just the sign of a band that just needs to know when to call it quits, I think. Kind of like the
yeah,
Simpsons in a way, because they're still going. And
yeah.
it was just announced that the voice of Millhouse, Pamela Hayden, she's just
I
retired.
I did see
Yeah.
that. Yeah, a
So
lot of them are retiring now.
yeah, exactly. So I feel like Maiden need to just call it quits. They've left a massive legacy on a lot of people on the music
Yeah,
industry. Just come on.
like you've cemented it. You know.
Yeah. But then again, maybe I'll have a very different opinion. Maybe this time next year if I give the other albums a go. But nothing compares to Power Slave.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this album as well. Like you saying with Aces High, like that song just really draws you in.
Hmm.
Just like it's just instantly, it's just and go, you know, with the bass and the drums and all that instantly. And then once it builds
Yep.
up and then guitar riff kicks in and you're just like, oh, let's go.
A
You
riff
know,
with like a very maideny harmony over the top. Just
yeah,
I think they're the kings of instrument harmony. I would say, or they're
yeah.
up there anyway.
In metal at least, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and you going back to say how they influence you. I remember you telling me because Iron Maiden has a lot of triplets. And I remember you telling me
mm,
about how with your play style you did this 3 fingers rather than like alternating the 2 fingers. I remember you playing that, I think in front of a teacher or something, and your teacher was like, "Never seen that before."
yeah.
I
No,
remember you
well,
telling me about this, and I was like, "It's cool as fuck."
again, that's the
Yeah,
influence that
Mr. Harris.
Mr. Harris had on me, and I would assume a lot of
Feels
other bass
weird
players
calling
out
him
there.
that, Mr.
Mr.
Harris.
Harris,
I've always said Steve Harris.
yeah,
Yeah. I love the clip I
yep,
sent you like probably a few months ago when they came to Australia and he's like randomly playing soccer. These
yeah, yeah. I
That's
mean,
so random.
good on him. He's still fit enough to run around, do stuff.
Yeah.
Not as bloody out there as Bruce is. Like he's had a
He's
major career.
fencing and flying the planes.
Yeah, but no, good to see Steve out there living his life outside of Iron Maiden.
Yeah, legend. Alrighty. my number two, which if anyone knows me, this is no surprise whatsoever. I forgot to add as well, this top three can alternate. Like each one of these
Mm.
has been in the first, second, or third place. It's just when I sat down for this is happens to be the top three for now. But my number three could be number one, my number two could be number three, my number one could be my number two, whatever. Like it is what it is. But for now, my number two is Nirvana. Nevermind. It's just one of those albums. Like when I heard it, I just instantly became obsessed. Absolutely obsessed with this album. I could play a lot of these. I can easily play all these songs on the drums. I could play a lot of it on guitar as well. I don't know about having a mind blank. Um, edit this out. The production on this album is absolutely unreal. Like you can listen to it now and it still sounds like it came out now.
Mm.
The fact that it came out in 91 and it sounds as pristine, I guess you could say, as it does, it to me is crazy. That's thanks to Mr. Butch Vig, which Dave Grohl has worked with many times throughout the later bit of the Foo Fighters. But Butch Vig has gone on to do many great albums with Garbage. He did 21st Century Breakdown with Green Day. Drawing a blank on the other albums, but he's worked on a lot of amazing albums. This is one of these albums that's I feel like it was once like I kind of wish I was around at the time to experience it because the way people talk about it was just like this
Mm.
once in a lifetime thing of just this band. It was like this underground local Seattle band, and then they just released this and then gone to be pretty much the biggest at the time, like the biggest thing on the planet. Like everyone wanted Nirvana.
Yep.
But that's at least how everyone describes it at the time. Because apparently just you couldn't escape Smells Like Teen Spirit, which is a song I love, but I also am like never need to hear it again. I've heard it that many times.
Yeah. Yep.
I have a fond memory of, well, I guess you could say fond, of schoolies when I think it was your phone or my phone that you hid in the area I was sleeping, and you had it, I think it was like every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, and you'd set it up that Smells Like Teen Spirit played. So like every 5 minutes, the song would play, and I'm like trying to sleep, and I couldn't find this bloody phone, and then it would end, and like 5 minutes after that, it would just play again. I was like, oh my god,
Classic. Classic.
it's just like of all the bloody songs to torture me with. My favorite song on this album is "Breed," which is a song we've played together live.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a very, very fun song, very energetic, very punk.
Majorly.
I love a lot of the songs on here. I love Come As You Are, Lounge Act, Territorial Pissings, Polly, Something in the Way, Lithium, Stay Away. I know I love a lot of the tracks on this album.
I think In
In
Bloom,
Bloom,
flies under the
In
radar.
Bloom as
Yeah.
well. Yes, love In Bloom, which is another song we've played together. Played in the
Mhm.
backyard. It was Halloween party.
Oh yeah, that's right.
You were dressed as Jigsaw, and I was a minion with a horse head on for some reason. No, that was a good
Some
name.
crossbreed thing.
Yeah, minion horse. But yeah, this is like an album that will forever be in my top three. I love this album so dearly. It was just this is one of the albums that's like it made me fall in love with music.
Yep.
So yeah, get mind blanking. So
I recently listened to it again in full, and yeah, it's great. It is genuinely a great album. It's one that's talked about a lot. Like it's on a lot of like best albums of all time lists, but
yeah,
I do think it belongs because I think it's as you're talking about the impact it had on everyone at the time, just
yeah,
amazing. And the music's actually really good, I think.
yeah,
Like Kurt was pretty underrated, wasn't he? As a songwriter, he was underrated. Not as a not as a personality or a musician.
Yeah, I can get behind that. I was going to say, I think we're meant to play a bit more on the overrated, but
No.
yeah, I think one thing I will give Kurt is that he just had this ability just to turn how to describe it, like simple but powerful.
Mm,
Like these songs aren't complicated. They're very simple songs, but it's just like, but they're so powerful.
yep.
You know, like even like take "Smells Like Teen Spirit." Like that's not that complicated of a song, but it's just the way it's played with the passion and the way he. I would say he's an underrated vocalist. No one really talks about what an amazing vocalist he was. Like the passion he put into his performances was unreal. Like the
Mm.
ending of Territorial Pissings, like it sounds like his vocal cords are just exploding. He's just absolutely screaming his guts out.
I reckon that's where Grove got a lot of his influence for early Foo Fighters
Oh,
vocals,
absolutely.
I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, I will forever love this album.
Don't blame you.
Yeah.
Don't blame you.
Your number two
Radio.
champ.
My number two. Okay, we're getting down to the dregs of it now. It is a band that has been mentioned before by you recently, but a different album, The Beatles, Rubber Soul. Um, I've done the I've done the other album that people talk about,
Yeah.
or Abbey Road, or Revolver. It's one of those four.
A white album. Yeah.
White Album as well. Sometimes, yeah. I kind of wish my favorite. I mean, it was for a long time. I like Help, that kind of those kind of albums, but or Magical Mystery Tour I did love as
Yeah,
well,
I remember it being Magical Mystery Tour for a little while.
which is really bizarre because it's almost a compilation album of the leftovers of Sergeant Pepper's in a way.
Yeah. It's just
But
Acid, the album.
yeah, yeah.
It's a trippy as fuck album.
I think George snuck some things from Customs. I think.
I think so.
Sorry, the video just started playing in my ear. I paused it. That's all right. Yeah, Rubber Soul is a fantastic album. I don't really need to. I don't really need to say anything that hasn't been said before about it. Just like you with Sergeant Pepper's,
Yeah.
it's just an album that I think, from beginning to end, it is songwriting that is just so pure and crisp. I think that was the peak of Lennon McCartney as a duo as well, working together, if not Revolver. But actually, yeah, it was definitely this was the peak. I think Revolver was the first opportunity that kind of George kind of got to go off on his own, I think, but Revolver was definitely more Lennon McCartney orientated. And I think it shows, I think it's a demonstration of their best songs. In My Life is
I love In My Life.
In My Life's my favorite Beatles song, I think.
Yeah.
And it's definitely my favorite song on the album.
That and for this album, that and Norwegian Wood are
Norwegian
my
Wood's
favorites
good.
in this album. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. And the influence that this album had is second to none, obviously, as well. I've already spoken about it, but Pet Sounds, obviously, Brian Wilson heard this album and got jealous in a way. So he wanted to make something like that as well. And
then
made
Pet
something
Sounds
pretty influential. Yep.
and then Pet Sounds made him and then made Paul write Sergeant Pepper, which I always find funny.
It's an amazing link. Yeah.
It's so funny that you Rubber Soul and then Brian Wilson's like, I could top that, does Pet Sounds, which is phenomenal. And then Paul's like, hold my beer and writes Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah,
if I was
come
Brian
on.
Wilson, I'd be like, brother, come on. I don't stand a chance now.
I'd be pissed, yeah. I'd be really angry. Yeah, but I don't know. I just think that it's very experimental as well. Drive My Car, like they've actually got the beep 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 in there. Like it's ultimately
so
weird.
I love it. Yeah,
dumb,
it's
weird,
just,
but
yeah,
it works. It works for that like era of like quirky Beatles. Yeah,
yeah, it's like infectious. You can't help but enjoy it.
yeah. just yeah, there's so many things about this album I could say, but I won't get into it. This is
Yeah.
it's kind of like you actually I will say as well that sometimes this is my favorite album of all time as well, or if not this album, and other Beatles albums are my favorite of
Yeah.
all time because I'm just such a Beatle head.
Yeah.
But at the moment, this is the album that just I think about the most and I enjoy the most when I put it on. I'm
Rubber
singing
Soul's
away. I'm humming the guitar bits. Just so much going on.
Yeah, it's definitely like a turning point for both Paul and John in terms of songwriting. Like, what's the album before this one? Was
It
it?
was help.
It wasn't Help. Help. It was Help.
Yeah,
I was gonna say the maturity between Help to this is I mean, Help's kind of mature.
agreed.
But it was more like they had like She Loves You, Hold My Hand, like it's like all the sort of lovey-dovey sort of pop songs. But then you go to Rubber Soul, which has In My Life, Norwegian Wood, Run for Your Life, even though that's a weird song. It has like this album has a sense of like maturity to it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, exactly.
and then they really sink into Revolver, which is also that's basically LSD, the album. Um,
That's the
but
most experimental for sure.
yeah, it'd be a toss up between Magical Mystery and Revolver. I don't know. That'd be a good debate. Which one's
Yeah.
more experimental?
Mm. You made a good point about the difference between Help and Rubber Soul because I feel like Help bridges the gap between Hard Day's Night and Rubber Soul. It's the perfect
Yeah,
transition of I don't know, kind of putting a bit more thought into the lyrics, making it not necessarily about love as well. I'm pretty sure Rubber Soul is the first album as well that doesn't have purely love songs.
yeah,
So I just think that it was ahead of its time. I think the band in general were ahead of their time, but I think we'll get onto that in a different video at a different
oh
time.
yeah, yeah. The Beatles were always ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. My number one.
Here we
This
go.
is on par with the Nevermind, because Nevermind in this album, I think I heard this album first and then Nevermind second. But these two albums are like the reason why I'm so into music. They just made me fall in love with music, and it started my I guess discovery of my own taste of music. Because before I didn't really listen to like what my parents were listening to or my sister was listening to or whatever. And I heard these two albums, and they both had such a connection to me, and I'm like, oh, I can like have my own taste and my own discoveries of music. Um, but this album is Black Sabbath Paranoid, which was already on your list way lower.
It was
But that's
lower
fair.
than it was lower than I wanted it to be, but I
Yeah.
didn't have a choice. It was
No,
yeah.
that's totally fair. But I love this album so dearly. It's a perfect album to me. Like every single song, every single riff, every lyric, absolutely everything about this album is just perfect to me. I just did not get sick of this album at all. This is like one of those I guess you call like desert or island albums. Like, oh, if you're stranded and you
Mm.
can only take 5 albums or whatever, like this is on there without a doubt. Um, just the riffs on this album. Tony Iommi is just such a phenomenal guitarist, and to think he's missing tips of two of his bloody fingers as well. It's just,
Yeah.
which changed his style, which made him play slower, and he had to lower the tuning of the strings to put less pressure on his fingers. Um, that's another one of those things. Like, yeah, it's tragic he lost the tips of his two fingers, but if he hadn't,
Mm.
we wouldn't have Black Sabbath. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So, thank you, Tony, for losing the tips of your fingers. Thank you, soldier. Took one for the team. Because he had to completely relearn how to play the guitar after that accident. Um, but yeah, it's just the songs on this album. You got oh, so let's see if I can do the track list again off the top of my head. I'm gonna say War Pigs, Paranoid, um, Iron Man, Planet Caravan.
I think that's the other way around. I think Planet Caravan's third.
Is it? Is it?
Ooh,
Shit.
I think it is.
To be fair, that's
I could be
actually
wrong.
hot minutes. Yeah, I'll rephrase it. I'm just gonna list the songs that are on the album. Yeah, we've got
Nice
War
save.
Pigs,
Good save.
Paranoid, War Pigs, Paranoid, Planet Caravan, Iron Man, Electric Funeral, Hand of Doom, Rat Salad, and Ferris Reboots. It's some order like that.
It is
But
a
like
masterclass lineup, to be honest. It's
yeah, it's all 8 songs are iconic Sabbath songs.
just songs
Um,
in general.
yeah, true, very very true. And like everyone's heard Iron Man, everyone's heard Paranoid. I think a lot of people have heard War Pigs. The other tracks, like if people said, like if someone said to me, "Oh, I haven't heard Fairies Wear Boots" or "I haven't heard Rat Salad," I'd be like, "Fair enough." But if someone came up to me and goes, "I haven't heard Iron Man," I'd be like, "What? How have you not heard this song?" Yeah, especially with
Unforgivable.
like
Yeah.
especially with the fucking Marvel character as well.
Hmm.
You know, um, you definitely don't have an excuse now. But I just will forever love this album. To me, the main riff of Iron Man is in my opinion, the greatest metal riff of all time. I just do not get sick of it ever. Um, like back to like I said with like Teen Spirit, where I'm like, I don't need to hear that song anymore. Please let me keep listening to Iron Man. I love it. I did not get sick of that song at all. Um, and just the musicianship as well, like how they transition from section to section is just pure. Like it's so seamless as well. Um, I don't know. I don't like. How do I word it? Like, there's nothing I can say that hasn't already been said about this album. Um, I just love it to bits. It means a lot, and I just highly recommend if you've not listened to this album to go listen to it. Um, if you're someone that's like I'm not really into metal but want to give metal a go, this is the album I would say to
I
start
think it's
on.
the perfect start. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, this would be the album I would hand you and go listen to this. This is your gateway into exploring more ideas of it. Um,
And think about the fact it was released 54 years ago as well.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
1970. Um,
I think that's crazy in
War
itself, to be
Pig.
honest.
Yeah, which reminds me of the fact that a song like War Pigs, I find concerning that 54 years later, it's still relevant.
Hmm.
Um, that song I think was written about the Vietnam War at the time. Now you've got what's going on in Ukraine and what's going on in Palestine at the moment. So it's just I don't know. Every time I hear that song, I'm like, this song should not be relevant, but it
Hmm.
is, sadly. But um, yeah. Thoughts?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised of your top 3 at all.
Yeah, yeah,
But your comments about this album, I'm not surprised either because I know how much you love it. I mean, we both. I feel like we were one of the only ones that I knew about in high school that liked Black Sabbath, loved Black
yeah.
Sabbath, but it was good to have someone to talk to. But you always knew way more than I did about the band itself. So
Mm.
yeah, it is a great album. I've already had it on my list. It was 15, I'm pretty sure, which is very low. But I agree with you for the fact that all the songs are influential, but I think it stems back to the fact that I would choose to I always go back to it to having to listen to it in full. I can't really listen to the individual songs by themselves.
Yeah, and I absolutely understand that. I'm the same. I can't. Yeah, you have to listen to it as a complete package, which goes back
Yeah.
to I think what we said at the beginning of the episode of how we enjoy listening to it as an album. That's why we like these albums because we believe that's how I don't want to say music should be experienced, but like how you should listen to an artist is to listen to
Yep.
an album in full. And that's probably as well why it's number one. It's like this is the ultimate listen from beginning to end album. So, yeah,
Absolutely. I see it on
yeah,
a lot of best of lists, and yeah, rightfully so.
yeah. It deserves to be on there for sure. You're number one, Chief.
Okay, so you're all done.
I'm all
You're in the
done.
clear. Wow.
I'm off.
I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I've still got one to go, so I guess that's good for me. My number one is an album that I know some people know that I like the band. I love the band, the artist, the group, if you want to call it that. But might be surprised of the album itself, or the fact that is actually my number one. But upon recent listenings, it's just been an absolutely phenomenal listen. I had a bit of a hiatus from it between my last listen and when I started listening to them again, like maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago. That album is Demon Days by Gorillaz. It is. It instantly draws me back, just like albums like Wolfmother or anything by Josh Pike. This is an album that draws me back to my childhood, and I really enjoyed it then. But listening to it again now, I just think it's the ultra creative. It's an ultimate piece of creation, I think, just for the fact that it's so weird and unique. I've never heard anything like it in my life. Maybe that's because I haven't explored genres that are similar to Gorillaz. But this album in particular, I'm a massive fan of, especially now. Like these days, it's my comfort album at the moment. Not that I have much to comfort from, but if I need the odd,
If you need some, yeah.
yeah, exactly right. It was made pretty much single handedly by one man, Damon Albarn, that I think is never ever spoken about. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
a British guy that carries the band. He just has a whole lot. He brings a whole lot of like session musicians in and helps him out performing on the album. But he's the one that writes all the songs and sings on a lot of the songs as well. He's got that very distinct voice that people would know as soon as they heard him.
Yeah.
This album it's got songs like Feel Good Inc., which is the teen spirit of radio as well. Like you hear it every now and then, like on a random.
Everyone's heard this song, yeah.
Yeah, on a random Saturday afternoon, listening to radio station, this comes on, and you go, "Oh, yep, I know this song."
Yeah, but not on Sundays.
Not on Sundays, no. Purely Saturdays. Sometimes Wednesdays.
Saturdays
I've heard
only,
it as well.
Yeah.
It's just it's sadly that is the song that is recognized by them, which it's actually one of my least favorites on the album, even though it's still a really good song. It's got songs like Fire Coming Out of a Monkey's Head that is just a story. It's a guy narrating a story with music in the background that is just so awesome. There's something about it that's just really powerful. It's like just telling a story about like some mountain in the shape of a monkey's head that breathes fire because people go in there and like they're trying to steal the goods inside. It's and it's really bizarre. Like there's a lot of like there's random sound effects and there's random just I don't know. It's all over the place. I can't really explain this album. It's got something for it's got at least something that everyone will like. There's at least one song on the album you'll go, okay, I like that. I feel like every song is very different though. So, yeah, I don't know. I can't really say much more. Just an album that at the moment it really resonates with me.
Yeah. I like this album a lot too. It's an album I think I need to listen to more. I have listened to it and I think it was it was an album I had heard like some of the songs growing up. And then I think somehow one day we're talking about Gorillaz and you're like, you should really listen to the album. I was like, yeah, right. I remember listening to it. I was like, fuck, it's actually an amazing album. I'm
Yeah.
really liking the production. I think the production of
Yeah,
this album's really, really, really good. Really
definitely.
clean. Very, very
Yeah.
clean. Um, I think production as I'm getting older is something I appreciate more.
Mm.
Being able to actually hear like all the instruments. Because I get frustrated at certain albums where I go listen to it and I'm like, I can't hear the bass, or the guitar's too loud, or the vocals are too quiet, or they're too loud, or whatever. But like this is like one of those albums that's produced, in my opinion, perfectly. Like you can hear everything.
Absolutely.
Um, so I remember that was something that really stood out to me. Um, I think the song I remember really standing out to me was I can't remember what it's called. Is it? It's like "We're the Last Living Souls." Whatever. I can't remember. I
Last
can't remember
Living
the name of it.
Souls. Yeah.
Last Living Souls. I remember that's a song that really stood out to me. Like as you were talking about it, then like that song was just playing in my head. Um, I don't know. Yeah, that's an album. It actually makes me want to listen to it now because it's an album I really want to re-listen to. It's been quite a
Mm.
little while since I've last listened to it, but um, yeah, don't know what else really to add.
I'd recommend.
I think
It's
I think I'm
yeah,
slightly surprised that it's your number one. I think I wasn't expecting it to be, but I also am like I know you love this album.
yeah. I I can already picture specific people that I'll talk to about this episode. They'll be very surprised that it's my number one. But
Yeah,
I can't help that this is genuinely what I listen to the
yeah,
most these days, and the thing I enjoy the most. Um,
hell yeah,
Nostalgia aside, um, it's just I think it's fantastic. It's also not an album that I would show someone trying to get into music in general as well. Um,
right. A bit too
because
weird.
it's too weird, it's too out there. But for people like me that appreciate different things and different aspects of music, I guess you could say in the broad
Yeah,
terms, it's something that you will appreciate at least. You'll, as I said, you'll appreciate one thing about this album.
yeah. And if you're like, well, if you
Yeah,
don't like this, you can always listen to Blur, which is
yeah,
David Albarn's other group,
yep, yep,
which I
yeah.
think.
Blur, yeah. I don't really know much
Would you
about
say
Blur.
Gorillas are bigger than Blur? I don't know.
Um, if we're talking
It's so
about
weird because I'm not super into either of them. I mean, I like Gorillas and Blur. I only know song two.
exactly,
I haven't even heard song one. Um,
Jesus Christ. I probably would say Gorillaz are bigger than Blur, to be honest, because
which is
they've
ironic as
got
hell.
they've probably got more. I mean, Feel Good Inc., Dare, maybe Dirty Harry. I mean, they've probably got more radio songs than Blur.
Hmm.
But then again, that's probably a really bad take, and I'm not really thinking properly about it. But I don't know, or it's the bias of me choosing this artist over the other one.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
hell yeah. Well, that's it.
So that rounds it out.
Finally got through it all.
Mm.
We
Is it?
finally. Oh my god, we've been recording this for so long. I can't believe we've finally done it. 4 months
Yeah, it took
of
way
trying
longer
to
than we
push
wanted
through
it to.
this.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh.
But we've got a lot to talk about when it comes to specific albums, and
Yes.
I think I think that's the point. I mean, these episodes were always going to be longer than other things that we do because
Yeah.
these come from the heart, I guess you could say. And
Yeah.
yeah, with that
Yeah.
comes a lot of things to talk about.
Getting to know us, getting to know our musical tastes and why we're so into music and the music that shaped us.
That's it. Exactly
Yeah.
right. It kind of demonstrates how extremely broad, not broad, the complete opposite of that. How diverse our music ranges are.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
everything. I feel like we mentioned every single genre.
Don't think jazz was mentioned.
Jazz, what actually, yeah, jazz wasn't mentioned. Country wasn't
Yeah.
mentioned. Yeah, apart from that,
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Although if I had to pick a jazz album, I would definitely go Miles Davis, Bitches Brew,
I'd go Kind of Blue.
Kind of Blue.
Yeah,
Fair
but
enough.
there's no wrong answer with with either of those. So,
Miles.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Do a Miles
country, I'll
Davis
probably
episode.
yeah, I'd like to do that. Country, I'd probably go back to probably Folsom Prison Blues, Johnny Cash. That's probably my favorite country album. Quotation marks.
I was about to jokingly say Billy Ray Cyrus.
My achy breaky heart. The definition of a one hit wonder, isn't he? That's
Oh,
like
Jesus.
that's peak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so ironic that Miley is so much bigger and better than Billy. Anyway,
He is better actually. Yeah. Well, I'll talk about Miley
yeah,
Cyrus next
we'll,
episode.
we'll
How
have
about
a Hannah Montana Miley Cyrus episode. How about
that?
that?
Love it. Love it. Okay,
Alrighty.
well, thank you for sticking with us. Thank you for having patience.
Yeah.
Thank
Especially
you
this
for
long episode.
yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Thank you for
About 2
possibly
hours or something.
bearing with our
Bearing with us.
bad opinions. Oftentimes, you might not agree with them. I challenge anyone out there to come forward and challenge our opinions. If you throw back to episode 2, come forward and yeah, as I said, if you've got something to say about one of our favorite albums, then please tell us. We would love to talk
Yeah.
about it.
Make
Okay.
your own list in the comment. Let us know what your favorite album is. If you agree with any of us, what we said, or if you're like, why the hell is that on there? Let us know.
Love it.
Give us any thoughts or opinions.
Absolutely right.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Jordan. Hell yeah.
Okay. See you guys.
All right. See you, lads. Bye.